Now, here's the thing. It started right away because the enemy is constantly moving. Well, that deals with this stop game. So we need to start going through all of our code and run these commands to kind of make sure that if stop command is true, don't run any of the code in the script. So here's how we do that. If you don't already have your codes open, I'm just going to start at what I already have open. So I'm going to go to enemy wave. Everything in this code, or most everything that gets triggered or happens in the update. Well, at the very top, I can say if, and I can ask if the invaders controller, which is my script, okay, and I have to put the name of the class, and I have to say dot to access a variable, especially a static variable inside. So then I have to say dot stop game, and actually I could put a equal true, not an equal minus, but I could basically ask, is it true? Or in this case, how Booleans work, which is nicely, is I just have to say if invaders controller.stop game. And basically what that means is this true? If this is true, we're going to run some kind of code. What code are we going to run? We're just going to run a return command. And what the return command does is basically code runs from top to bottom. So this is the first thing that always gets checked. If invaders.controller.stopGame is true, we're going to return, which means stop where you're at in this function and exit out of the method. So we're not running any more of this code. So this nice little bit of line right here will reset the entire game. Or, well, stop the enemy wave from moving, basically. Now, the other thing with enemy wave is I want to make sure that when we do restart, it goes to the top and it starts going from left to right again. So in this script, not only do I want to return, but before I hit the return command, above it, because once it hits that return command, if I try to put lines of code below it, the code won't get ran. But I'm always just going to make sure direction is always equal to 1. So invaders controller.stop game, direction is going to go 1, so that means it's going to go to the right starting out, just like we have up here. The starting direction is 1, and then I will return. Now, if stop game is true, this code will be continued to run. Now that is a little bit of overkill, constantly setting this variable to 1, but the main important thing is this return command. Okay, so we're constantly going to be returning until stop game goes back to false, and then the rest of this code will always get ran. Okay, that's what's cool, or the beauty of this one little if statement and a return. Now, the enemy shoot also needs to be done. Where is all the really commands happening? Well, all the commands that are really happening are right here in the update. So again, first thing in the update that we need to do is invaders controller dot stop game. If that, curly braces, we need to return. But also, I really don't want the counter to be in the middle of counting. So say maybe there's 1 second left out of like maybe the shoot time is like 3 seconds, and my counter is at like 1.5, and it won't start adding to the, now since I'm returning it, I won't add to counter, but again, I then only have 1.5 seconds before it shoots again, and kind of a slow reaction time. So something I'm going to do here is call new time. So we call this new time method to reset the counter and reset a new shoot time so that the level again just kind of starts over. Now again, calling new time over and over again, because if the game is paused or stopped or game over or whatever, we're just going to have to not worry about that. Since it's a small enough game, it shouldn't matter too much. In here, for enemy bullet, okay, here's a hard thing. So enemy bullet, what do we want to happen with enemy bullet? Well, when the game is over, what happens if the bullets are in midair? And sorry, I'm at the wrong enemy bullet. So what happens if in midair, an enemy bullet is still present in the game, and then all of a sudden the game starts, or the bullet moves down and hits the player again? Well, that's not good. We don't want that to happen. So instead, what we need to do is in the update, I'm just going to simply say if invaders controller dot stop game. So if true, we're going to delete ourselves. We're just going to take us out of the scene. Delete. Okay? So this won't run until it's true, which works out for us. And last but not least, I think we have our gunship script. So our gun or our player should not be able to move. So again, top of the void update, if invaders controller dot stop game is on, we're going to just say return. Don't go anywhere. Don't allow me to do anything. Okay, again, since this is at the top of our code, program runs from top to bottom, none of this other code will get ran. Now, again, if we go back to the invaders controller here, we will know that once reset is called, as you can see, we stop game, we move, and we invoke start game after 2 seconds, so everything should start back up after 2 seconds. Save, come over to Unity. As you can see, I can't move, and the wave starts again. So we have that working. One more thing I noticed, and I remembered that I didn't do, is on our bullet script, it needs to act just like the enemy bullet script. So the enemy bullet script needs to delete itself. So you need to open up your bullet script and go back into the update method and add this invaders controller.stopGame delete, or copy and paste it from the enemy bullet script just like I did, because we don't want any lingering bullets to take out any aliens, because that's not fair on either side. Yes, the player should have the advantage all the time, but it's a game where you should have equal side chance. So that works for restarting the player on the game. Now, you'll notice we had to go and make many different changes. The one thing I do want to say for this is, since we do have invaders controller, what happens when we add player lives? Okay, so a big thing in the game is usually Space Invaders allows 3 or 4 lives, however many you want. So we want to kind of track that. So to do that, I'm just going to go in this invaders controller. And every time we reset the game, that basically means the player has been hit. Now, there is going to be a game over or end state when the aliens land, but we aren't ever going to call reset when that happens. So I need a, for now, public integer variable called lives, and I'm going to set it to 3. You can set it to 4, you can set it to 5, whatever you want. And we need to modify this inside reset. So inside reset, I need to say lives minus minus. And what that means is that says take lives and subtract 1 from it. And the other thing we need to make sure that just in case our lives was 0, that we don't need to subtract from lives again, and we don't need to invoke start game, because once lives is 0s and we lost, then we have to stop the game and the game is over. So in this case, we need to think that if lives, and actually I'll say if lives equals 0, or actually what we're going to say is greater than 0, then we need to run this code. So I'm going to tab it in, hit a curly brace like that. Else, if lives is not greater than 0, then we know we are going to do something for game over right here. Now, when you do this, you should now see in the game controller that we have lives as 3. And if I get hit here, you'll see that now over here, lives is equal to 2. So that works. And really, if I set lives to 0 over here in Unity, just to test to make sure it stops, I should try to almost get hit again. There should be enough bullets to kind of come at me. There we go. The game does reset, but as you can see, the invoke start command does not work. Now, you did notice that the game did reset, so the other thing I would say is really all this, no matter what with stop, the game needs to stop. But this part right here, I can actually do a Command X to cut it and actually call all of this stuff inside this if statement. So I need to stop the game no matter what, but only if lives is greater than 0 do I need to actually reset them. If lives is not 0 and the player is actually dead, then we just need to stop the game, which is this, and then we're going to do the else statement because this wouldn't be true. And then the else statement is going to be, we're going to activate some GUI components and things like that. So this will be kind of the game over state, and the level should stop.